Hello everyone, this is me, Razor Troy. Recently I came up with an idea to do new series about Raid Shadow Legends. This is the game which I have played for more than 1 year and 8 months. I started to play it on January 30th on 2020. So basically at the end of January. So yeah, that puts me approximately at 1 year and 8 or 9 months. Yes. So I decided to do series about faction wars, how to complete each faction, because that is my main goal right now. I will show you how far I have progressed in faction wars. As you can see, I have 801 stars out of 819 stars, so I'm pretty close to getting Lydia. She's the main chick I want to get in this game. As you can see, most of my factions are already at 60 stars or 63 stars. The only faction which isn't at least 60 stars is Night Revenant Crypt. I'm basically missing 3 stars from stage 20 and stage 21. But today I want to talk about one specific faction. Let's do that in chronological order. Today I want to talk about Banner Lords. First of all, I want to show again this faction war screen and show that currently I have finished 3-starring Banner Lord faction crypt. I have all 63 stars. What I want to do, what I want to enlighten you, I want to give you information about how you can complete it, so it will be a guide. So I will show what kind of champions I'm currently having from this faction. As you can see, I have 2 legendary champions, Cillian or Killian. I don't know which is the correct version, Cillian, Killian. You can leave in comments and tell me which is the correct one. Is it Cillian or Killian? And second legendary champion I have is Septimus. Well, speaking about these two, well, Septimus was kind of beast before they introduced dungeons starting stage 21 up to stage 25, where the damage based on enemies' max HP champions was kind of nerfed. You cannot do much damage with champions who have the skill, which damage is based on enemy max HP, but he's still good. For example, these kind of champions, especially Septimus, you can use him in, for example, in dungeons and Spider, but he's usable only till stage 20. This is the last stage where he is effective. Currently I have a different team without him, because as you can see I have personal record with this team 22 seconds. I don't want to break it if it's not broken. Well, for the faction wars, you can still use Septimus quite effectively, because he has also good damage multipliers on his A1. And if he kills somebody with A1, then he grants extra turn and resets the cooldown on his A2, which is good. This skill is actually pretty good versus bosses, especially stage 21 boss, which has plenty of HP. So yeah, I used and still use this champion in stage 20 and stage 21, depending on whether the CVC is currently happening or not. If there is no CVC, then I farm stage 20. If there is CVC, I farm stage 21 for more points. So against bosses, this champion can literally take half the boss HP with one skill in one turn with this one. And Cillian or Cillian, I haven't booked this champion because I don't think it's worth to book this champion. Because first of all, it requires a lot of books to book out this champion. And he's not that great, honestly. I mean, his skill set is decent at best. But nevertheless, he can be good in faction wars because he can put decreased speed on enemies with his A1. He can place block active skills, which is also good, and he can also stun, which is of course only viable against the minions, not the boss. You cannot stun the boss. For faction wars, he's pretty good, but for other content, maybe Ice Golem, because of the positive affinity versus Ice Golem 20. I can see these champions use in Ice Golem 20 in faction wars as well. If you have this champion, I would use him. Yes. Other champions from Legendary Heroes, which I currently don't have, but I would love to have, and which are noteworthy, I would say, of course, Setalia. She's basically, her A1 is HP burn. I would say meh, average A1. Her A2 is a cleanse on one single enemy, and then it can heal this ally. Setalia can cleanse debuffs from one ally and then heals this ally. And she also heals all other allies and fills turn meter of all allies, which is great skill. This is huge for faction wars. Healing and cleanse. Not cleansing, but you can heal and remove debuffs from one ally. And third skill is cleanse. You can remove all buffs from enemies and also manipulate turn meter, which can come handy versus mobs in faction wars. So this champion is really, really good in faction wars. If you have this champion, use it. You won't regret it. Which other champions are noteworthy from this faction, or which I like? Minaya, she's pretty fast, first of all, at speed 111, and she's basically, her skill set basically is based on healing. She heals. Healing is good. More HP on your allies, the healthy. She basically she makes your allies healthier, gives more HP, which is good. They don't die, and that enables them. Yeah, so you keep them alive, and you that's a higher chance to 3-star each stage. And the last champion which I like from this faction and which is really good is Raglin. He's basically a healer and a reviver. So he can come handy in faction wars as well. He can remove debuffs from all allies, which is good, then heals them. And the second sentence is quite interesting. The heal amount is proportional to this champion's attack. So, which means you can build him with attack percentage gloves, which will heal the champions much more, which is interesting. And then of course he can revive an ally with 75% HP and full turn meter, which is really good. And when booked, it can happen every 2 turns. Okay, and before we move forward, I forgot, before mentioning which champions are good for this faction, I would also want to kind of I want to introduce 4 main roles which you need to fill out in faction wars. So, first role, you probably will need a healer and or reviver in each faction. If you have one, it will make your life easier. Second role, also a support role, but this time a support which can decrease defense and decrease attack on all enemies, preferably. This will make decrease defense will make your allies hit stronger, and decrease attack on enemies will make them hit your allies for less damage. Third role, CC or crowd control and turn meter control champions. So the name already explains what you need to do. So crowd control means that crowd control basically means you have the champion has a kit which allows him to control the enemies with either stuns, freezes, or provokes, that kind of things. And turn meter control always comes handy because you can because less turns enemy takes, less damage they do on your ally champions. Yes. And the final role is, of course, damage dealers or DPS heroes. Well, you need at least 1 champion, or maybe 2, depending on your roster, who can deal damage either through right clicks or poisons or HP burns or whatever. You get the point, right? Okay, moving forward to epic champions. Well, first champion which I have and really like is Archmage Helmut, which you can get from normal Doom Tower. He's the first champion you can get. I like this champion. I like to use this champion together with Seer because of his A3, which gives 3 buffs on each ally in your team, which makes Seer that much stronger. But that's not all. This champion also can play stun. So basically A2 is also a very good skill. You attack one enemy and also will attack all other enemies if the first attack is critical, and the second hit has a 75% chance when booked to place a stun on enemy for 1 turn, which is huge factor in the progressing further in the faction war stage. It's huge, it's really good. And he has also a good speed aura in arena, which can come handy. Moving forward, next champion which I want to mention is Oathbound. Oathbound is a really good crowd control champion who can freeze enemy. He attacks one enemy and he can freeze him. Though the freeze chance is kind of average, only 50% when booked out, but his best skills are A2 and A3. So basically A2 does what? It attacks all enemies, and if booked, then it has 100% chance of placing 50% decrease attack on all enemies for 2 turns, and also has a 75% chance to decrease each target's turn meter by 20%, which is also very, very good. So this skill is pretty much top notch, and his A3 is attacks at random 4 times. Each attack has 30% of placing block active skills for 2 turns. Doesn't sound bad, right? And if you look at A2, which attacks all enemies, and A2, which attacks at random 4 times, it allows to equip this champion, for example, with stun set for extra crowd control. Stun set on this champion actually is pretty good for that extra CC. Okay, moving forward. Seneschal. I have this champion, and I think this champion is actually kind of sleeper. Many players sleep on him. But he has this skill. When booked out, he has a 100% chance to place provoke on all enemies for 1 turn. I really like champions who can do that. Place provoke on all enemies. 100% chance when booked. I really love this skill. That's why I love Seneschal. And his A1 is decent. Has a chance to place leech, which means more survivability. Which makes your team allows your team to sustain. And his A2 is kind of decent as well, but his A3 is the best skill, and that's why I love Seneschal, because of his A3. Next noteworthy champion, of course, is Tag Knight. And I think I don't have to explain why he's so good. He's so good because of his 3-turn cooldown A2, which can decrease defense and decrease attack on the same turn on 3-turn cooldown. That explains all. He's that good because of this skill. Okay, and I want to mention 2 more champions from epic ones, and the first champion from those will be Ursula. This champion, of course, is also, no questions asked, she's a beast, because she can revive all allies and fill their turn meter, as well as place 60% increased defense buff on them and 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 3 turns. Because of this skill, what is her A2? A2 is kind of good as well. Places decrease attack on all enemies and places increase attack on all allies. Pretty good. But her A3 is especially good. If you have her, I would use her not only in faction wars but in other content as well. Dungeons, maybe Arena, Doom Tower. She makes your life that much easier with A3. If you have her, use her. And finally, from the epic, which I don't have, I want to call out Warcaster. Warcaster, he has his uses in the clan boss as well, but he is good in faction wars as well, at least I think, because he attacks all enemies with his A2 and has a 75% chance when booked to place block buffs debuff on 2 turns on enemies, which can come very handy and clutch in some situations. And this skill, of course, like I said, is good versus clan boss, but can come handy versus some stages in faction wars as well. And lastly, if we look at rare champions, there are actually only 2 which I want to mention. One of these are Valerie, which some of you may already know. Basically, her A2 is pretty decent, increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn, and also decreases the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. Above average skill, I like it. And this one places shield on all allies as well as heals them depending on buffs they are currently under. So those 2 skills make this champion above average, especially among rares. And the last champion, well, if you don't have Stag Knight but have Dagger, she's, I would say, Stag Knight is OP, but she comes close to being somehow decent if you don't have any other option for the Grease defense. But the downside is that when booked, she only has 75% chance of placing 60% decreased defense on all enemies, which is kind of sad, knowing she's a wide champion. And A3 is kind of decent as well, but it's only on 1 enemy. She can place decrease attack skill. Well, that's all. And by the way, my original team with which I finished this faction was Cillian or Killian. That's first champion. Then I used Septimus, Archmage Helmut, of course Stag Knight, and my sleeper champion Seneschal. Those were the 5 champions which I used to beat all the stages through 21. I can show also gear on all of those 5 champions. So first of all, Cillian. So you can see pretty good amount of HP, some attack, some defense, pretty good amount of speed, little bit too much crit rate, good amount of accuracy, and I haven't used any skill books on her because I don't feel like they are necessary. They aren't necessary. And masteries, I have some mastery. I have far masteries on her, but it's not an necessity as well. She can be good without masteries as well. But if you like to put masteries on her, I have chosen this route: defense route and support route. As I use her mainly as debuffer. I don't use her for damage, although I have crit rate, good amount of crit rate with her and some crit damage. But that's because I put some leftover gear on her. Next one, Septimus on Savage set. Yeah, pretty high amount of, not high, average amount of attack, but it's irrelevant. Crit rate only 95, but I haven't done masteries on this champion yet. But when I will have masteries done on this champion, then he will have 100% crit rate, decent amount of crit damage. I chose not to put that much accuracy on him. Of course, you can put some accuracy on him because of his passive, but I mainly built him for damage. And skills, I have booked him out because he only needs 8 books, and it gives on each kill 25% damage, which is not bad. Next champion from that faction which I used was Seneschal. So as you can see, masteries. I have mastered him. So these kind of masteries. Same as similar as Cillian's or Killian's masteries. I use him as debuffer. Skills, of course, all booked out. And he has pretty high amount of HP. Same for defense. We're really fast and good amount of accuracy as well. Next champion is Archmage Helmut. He has all skills booked out, and he is also mastered, as you can see. And he has pretty high amount of HP, defense as well, pretty fast. He has to have 100% crit rate for his A2, and he has good amount of accuracy as well. And the last champion for that faction was Stag Knight. Stag Knight, as you can see, is in shield set and accuracy set. Masteries, of course, you can see it which masteries I took for him. I took this route because I use him mostly in PvE content. And the skills, of course, he's booked out. And he has pretty good amount of HP. Decent amount of HP. Decently fast. And decently high accuracy for PvE content. Well, that's all. In the end, I want to know if you watch this video till the end. I will try to do a cover of all factions, including Shadowkin faction. And I would be more than happy if you can leave in comments what you want, how satisfied you were with this video. How satisfied you were with this video, how much information you gathered from this video, what you didn't know before you started to watch video, I want to know your thoughts, what you learned from this video, and what suggestions you can give to me to make some adjustments further in the next series. Next series, by the way, will be in chronological order, High Elves. So I would really love your feedback, your suggestions, because I love this game. I would like to make some content of this game because I have been playing for so long. I want to share my knowledge, especially for completing Faction Wars. That's my Lydia is my main goal currently. So I put everything in this game to get here. And I want to hear your feedback, your suggestions, areas where I can improve, Yeah, thank you very much for that, and thank you again for watching me till the end, and I hope you see all of you in the next video about high elves. Bye bye, see you later.